Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another thrilling episode of the 13th Destiny Podcast. I'm your host, James Magnum Cook, and joining me today is, of course, always the ever-curious and adventurous co-host, Danielle Long. How are you doing today, Danielle?
I'm good. Thank you. Hi.
There she is. She joins us, as always, from the beautiful city of San Diego, California, if you've never been there. Great weather. So today we're going to do a return to the mysterious Bermuda Triangle. And I'm sorry if you heard any of that. That was not intentional. Anyway, I'm going to return to, as I said, the mysterious Bermuda Triangle. I did a show on that before. But first, let's talk about a little paranormal news, including one from the Lad Bible. That's the site there. And there's a whole article on that right now that was on, I believe, the 5th of January about the Bermuda Triangle. And what that's about is they, I think it was a Norwegian passenger vessel, offered refunds to any of the people going into the Bermuda Triangle in this particular area of the Bermuda Triangle that's known for like losing ships, planes, the more common area of it, apparently, from what I was reading. I don't want to give too much away on the article, but anyway, they had offered them if the ship disappeared. Now, you gotta love this one. They were offering them a full refund if the ship disappears. I'm not sure how that works.
That's funny.
See, Danielle laughed about that too. See, that is funny. I'm like, so how do I get my refund if my ship disappeared, but I disappeared with my ship? You know, that's kind of. I don't know. I read the article and it's really funny. But what's more interesting in the article, and I want the listeners to like go look at that, is that now there's some people I think there's some lawsuits and stuff going on, and because there was some really weird, mysterious things that happened, including some video recordings of some of the passengers that are now taking action to the cruise line, including one particular, this person that's talking about this on the article, and shows video of some very interesting, strange phenomena that were going on when they hit the Bermuda Triangle. That is awesome, because one of the things I'll dive into with Danielle and me as we go into the episode is that some people have tried to dispel things that are not happening anymore in the Bermuda Triangle. Well, that kind of disproves that from what is in an article. So check that out.
Yeah, but like what? What?
Oh, it's I don't want to really give it away, but I'll tell you like this. Okay, I'll kind of semi give it away, but not completely give it away. Kind of like, you know that movie we watched, the little miniseries, the Triangle, last night. We were watching that and everything about the Bermuda Triangle. It kind of has some of that electromagnetic phenomenal kind of stuff involved in it, and it's kind of fascinating. It really is. So yeah, there's a really good video that she took and everything. So, and there's no way that it could have been faked. Is what I'll get at.
That was an interesting movie. It's on Prime if anyone wants to go watch it. It's called The Triangle.
Yep.
I haven't seen it. It comes in 3 parts.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very good 3-part movie thing. Bryan Singer is one of the people involved with that.
Very interesting. It gives a bunch of different kind of like theories. It's not a documentary.
No.
But it gives like different. It's kind of like these different theories of what they think, what's going on with the triangle. It's interesting.
It was fun. It's a fun thing. It is. I mean, it is obviously fictionalized, but it's fictionalized around all the different things from the triangle. And the theories, like you said.
It started off with Christopher Columbus, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh yeah, the whole Christopher Columbus connection to the triangle.
Yeah, because he was in the triangle, but I didn't know. I thought that, he just saw an alien ship come up out of the water. He saw some light, some big light come up out of the water and go off into space. So, I don't know how, but it didn't really, the movie didn't really really touch on any kind of alien anything.
No, I think the closest thing without giving too much away of the movie, I think the closest thing it dived into that was maybe when the secret possible naval stuff underwater and stuff, which could be related to the alien base thing that someone had told me about too. But I mean, it didn't really dive into it, like you said. It didn't really explain any of that. It just kind of it leaves it kind of really to a more, I guess I would say, open to interpretation of what was going on in those particular scenes. And I think that's really good if you're really interested in the triangle and you've never seen this.
It's more like a time warp thing.
Oh yeah, yes.
We're ripping the tear in the time warp.
Oh yeah, definitely the wormhole possibility, the time warp, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, it was definitely that was definitely dived into very much so in that particular film. Even like I said, like even though it's fictional, the time.
It's called The Triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And it's a good movie. Really is. I enjoy it. I've always kind of had a fascination to the Bermuda Triangle anyway. And that's one of the particular ones I really kind of enjoy. There's some other ones that they kind of cross between very mysterious and horror. Sometimes the ones that dive a little bit more into the horror are a little bit, I would say, over fictionalized, over dramatized, trying to make it really just try to get the scare in there like you would any horror film. But these are more fictionalized into around the theories of the Bermuda Triangle, and I think I kind of like those movies better. I mean, if I just want to be scared, I can probably watch the other. But as far as trying to dive into the mysteries, if I watch a fictionalized version, I like them better like this, where they're fictionalized around certain theories and stuff, and they have their take on it. I definitely like that a lot better. Before I dive into the rest of this episode with Danielle, there are a couple other news articles too that were on the paranormal news for this week. And this is also a very interesting thing. Since I dived into the triangle, I was going to do triangle last, but there's a couple other articles that I want you to check out on higgypop.com. They're related to our normal stuff here, our paranormal stuff that we do. The survey says that now 76% believe in psychic powers. There's a very good article on that. Check that article out. There's an article about phone calls from
On what?
On higgypop.com. It's a known higgypop.com. It's a known paranormal site.
Oh, Higgy. Higgie.
HIGGYPOP.com. Like higgypop.com. Yeah, that. Yeah. It's a pretty well known paranormal news type site and stuff, and paranormal articles. So pretty much anyone that knows anything about paranormal pretty much knows about that site. That's the reason I brought that up. And there's another one about phone calls from the dead, which I don't know that I ever mentioned that. We'll talk about that on another show maybe sometime. But I had an interesting phone call from my dad's from my dad after he passed away. Cell phone.
Wait a minute. You had a call from your dad after he passed away. Tell me about that.
Wait, what? I haven't told you?
No, you're not getting out of this one.
Oh no! So I guess before we dive into the
about this dead phone call.
Okay, okay. I did not know you did not know about this phone. I guess me and my sister knew about this.
No.
Okay, so my sister. So after my dad passed away, anyway, my sister got a box of stuff from the nursing home, including my dad's cell phone and everything. The phone was dead. There was no nothing we could call out or anything like that. No one had that number. And it was shortly after my dad had passed away, after I'd made the arrangements, for, the cremation and all that. I'm back here in Bowling Green, and I literally get a phone call, and it says Dad's cell phone. That's how I had. I was like, okay, well that's weird. That's very weird. That came. So I go to answer it, and there's nothing but like static on it, and I'm like, okay, that's just too weird. I'm like, so I called my sister, and she said no. She said that phone's turned off and everything. I said okay. So didn't think too much of it. But then like maybe 4 or 5 hours later, I'm in the house. The phone on my old cell phone that I had that had that on there, it called me again, and I was like, okay, that's really weird. But anyway, that relates to this article that was talking about people calling you after they're dead, and
so the phone was wait. So the phone was completely. How long after that he had died?
This was maybe a couple of days after he had died that I had made those arrangements, and I was back here waiting to hear back from them after they were doing the cremation and all that, and then I got these 2 phone calls from him.
And the phone was with your sister, and she said it's turned off or dead or what?
Yeah. That's. I think that's how that was. That he had already, or maybe she hadn't got the phone yet. I take that back. Maybe she hadn't got the phone yet. I don't know.
And where was the phone?
Like in a box or whatever. I think I may have mistaken how. I'd have to ask her because I can't remember exactly how that played. I just remember that I know that the phone was dead and not working when he called me, and or whoever called me. I mean, I'm assuming that after reading this article today that maybe he did call me. I'm going to be open-minded enough to say, okay, well, maybe you did call me. That's interesting. So anyway.
The only weird thing that happened with me was my daughter, when she was about 14, 15 or something like that, during the night, we woke up and there was a weird message on my phone and there was a weird message on her phone, and we did not text each other during the night at all.
Oh, wow.
We were sleeping.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So see that's
talk about weird stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh.
I'm getting the chills just thinking about that back then, because we thought it was the weirdest thing. I honestly don't remember what was said, but it was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
18 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but isn't that strange?
It is strange. Because I was like freaked out.
There was nobody in the house.
Oh yeah, I was alone too.
Or anything like that. There was no one running from her room to my room, texting messages that we know of.
Right.
It was so weird.
It is weird. And like in my situation, I knew my dad had passed away, and I knew the cell phone had been turned off, and I'm getting like these calls from his cell phone, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I was like, what are you?
Static only? Every time?
Both times it was only static. And I couldn't distinguish anything except the static. I kept wanting to, like, I'd say hello, and I would get like yeah, like that. That kind of that kind of static. Like,
did you just get frustrated and hang up, or did you try and stay on and go?
Well, I tried to stay on for a little bit, but then especially the second time I got the call, it was going the same thing. That, and I'm just like, okay, at first I'm like, who's messing with me?
Did you think it was like a joke, right? Yeah, I would have thought that too.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, really someone's got this number. Somehow they know how to get around, the fact that they don't have the physical cell phone. I was thinking all kinds of who is and that knows that, because very few people knew that my dad had passed away, and we'll talk about that. Danielle knows about this, but very few people knew that my dad had passed away. A very select few people knew, like Danielle knew, because I let Danielle know, and my sister knew, a few family members knew. But the reason most people didn't know that my dad passed away was that my dad had decided not to have a funeral, and literally not having a funeral, no obituary, no nothing like that. And he said if someone asked about him later, just like, oh, he's already passed away, and he made a choice not to have a funeral, is what he done. So with this going on, I'm like, who's messing with me? How many people even know this, right? But then I go, okay, this is way, way weird. I'm getting this. And on the second time when I was talking to the static, which I thought was, if I ever told this story, which I'm telling this story now, I thought anyone ever hears this, they're going to be like, okay, what were you smoking? What were you drinking? Okay, I know that's what somebody was going to think, but I wasn't. I did drink a bottle of wine that first night he died, but this was a couple of nights later, and Danielle knows, as anybody knows, I don't really drink a lot. I might have some Casey Jones moonshine here after a while, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, everybody knows I don't really drink. I drink on a rare occasion, so having that that night, it's just one of those things where, you've lost someone that you've taken care of for the last year. It's just one of them things. So
I know that you're really close with your dad, and
yeah,
maybe it's just possibly he tried to reach out And just to tell you that he's okay and loves you, maybe?
Well, that's what my sister said.
Wait, how did you take it?
Well, at first I was freaked out, to be honest, because if your dad has passed away and he pops up with Dad's cell phone and it's not supposed to be operational, you're kind of like, what is going on? And then the second time, I kind of tried to engage. I was like, I actually did try to engage. I was like, Dad, I never got anything outside of the static. And then I was like, okay, after that, didn't happen anymore. That didn't happen anymore. Now, the other weird thing that happened at the same time, I believe that's where the sister was involved. I believe I have to go back and ask her, but I know that the sister in Ohio told me that there was a light at her house after my dad passed away that had not been working for and they never had changed out the bulb, and it just suddenly started working. I believe that's how that story goes that she told me around this same time all this is going on. So that makes it kind of like connected. Like, okay, well, maybe Dad is doing something. So I'm going to be open-minded with all the stuff that we deal with, that there's a possibility of anything. Like I always tell people, like, look, we don't, tell you what to believe, and I don't tell you what I believe. I just tell you that I'm open-minded enough to think that is a possibility. So, anyway. So,
got...
So
the article was about dead people calling their relatives or something?
Yeah, phone calls from the dead. Yeah, that's what the article's about. Yes. Which I found fascinating because
what did it say?
It just said basically, there was different things that had happened. Sometimes you might hear something, sometimes you might not, but they're always usually from people who have passed away recently, and the cell phones and stuff in the cell phones call people.
Did they say something like "hello"?
No, it didn't really act like that. But it said that
They never hear an actual voice.
I think maybe one or two might have dove into the fact that they might have heard something they thought was familiar to them, but it was never distinctly clear. Is basically what I had read through that. But I just found it fascinating because of this situation that happened to me, which you only now know about because I never really talked about this except between me and my family members. But yeah, that was a very interesting article. So if you've ever had anything like that happen, it might be a good article to check out and just and maybe
write us and let us know at 13destiny podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know because that would be an awesome follow up to hear what some of the other people have that might be listening to the show that has had that happen. Okay, so we'll get out of that one real quick. Hey, that was pretty good actually, though. That probably put some more time on the show, so that's awesome. I got one other real quick one I want y'all to check out because, as you know, this goes along with the show too, and this is about the lost city of Atlantis. Do your homework and check this out and look at things about Atlantis. But this actually came from the Sun newspaper, the U.S. edition, in the last few days. And this is about possibility of finding. They do believe that this could be the lost city of Atlantis, or at least some remnants of it. And they do believe that this may be off the coast of Australia, of all things, and they are doing some dives on that right now, apparently from what I'm reading. So they are looking into a possibility that this is a connected, and that this may actually be the lost city of Atlantis. Of course, that has happened before, where they thought they had found something. But I found it fascinating that even here. So if you relate to that,
what did they find?
They found some artifacts and stuff that they're trying to date. I believe carbon dating and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So they're and they think it goes back to that era. I think.
Yeah, but that would be like thousands of years ago.
Right. Yeah. So they don't have a definitive proof on this yet. So just be sure to understand that it's not definitive yet. But the reason I brought this one up was if you think about Lost City of Atlantis versus Bermuda Triangle, about various theories and stuff, and like the time warps and all, this is very kind of related in a way as well. So check that.
Yeah, I hear that it. Who do I listen to? I listen to someone, and he's very interesting, called Randall Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very, very interesting. And they're more saying it's, the lost city of Atlantis is probably off Spain.
Right. That's also been mentioned. Yes, it has been. Yes.
That's what they think that. So,
I
mean, there's so many theories. It'd be a good show to do, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it would be a good show to do. We should do that sometime. One of the things I'll mention since you brought that up about, and then we'll get over to the Bermuda Triangle here in just a second. The deal about possibility of this being related. Well, okay, here's my theory. Now, this is just my personal opinion. So, if you off the coast of Spain, which you're the guy that you've listened to and everything, or this stuff they find, if there is a connection, that's really far apart. So, if you find two things of an ancient civilization connected two different ways from far apart, there's only one or two theories I could come up with that would explain that. One is some kind of wormhole time warp kind of thing that moves stuff from one place to the other, or we don't have the full knowledge of how when the continents and things broke up and how things may have went here and there, and we don't really know what we think we know, and that's a possibility too. There's a lot of scientific.
Another possibility is that Atlantis was everywhere in the world, and it was a civilization of people.
Well, that would be.
You know what I'm saying? And they lived all over the place, because when you connect all the temples and how similar they are all over the world,
right,
and things like that, and the buildings and. There's just a lot to go over. I mean, that's for another show.
Yeah, that's for another show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it'd be a really interesting thing to get into.
Right. Well, so let's dive into the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, but you know what? There was a theory though that Atlantis was underneath in the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah, there was a theory about that too. So it is related. Yes.
Yeah, it is kind of, right?
Yeah. Okay, I just had my shot of Casey Jones here. I normally eat energy drinks, and do the show and talk to Danielle, but today's a different day. It's got storms over here in Kentucky, so I'm just hanging out in the studio doing this with Danielle today. So
we got beautiful sun.
Oh God, she's gonna kill me with this California weather she's got. Oh, that's one of the best things.
Actually, it's even better because it's San Diego.
Oh yeah, San Diego actually. If any listeners don't know, and I think I might have mentioned this one time before with Danielle when she was on, if you don't know this, I will give you the thing. California is expensive, but if you ever get a chance to go, you really want to go to San Diego, because it's the best freaking weather I have ever seen in my life most of the year. It's like it is crazy.
It's amazing.
It is. It's crazy how good your weather is. It's just nuts. I'll tell a real quick story before I dive into the rest of the Bermuda Triangle. The first time I ever went to San Diego actually, me and Danielle have been friends for a long time, but I went to meet her in person back in 2017. The weirdest thing that happened with me was like, wow, you can be at an outside cafe, beautiful weather, and like in Kentucky, we're getting pounded with flies. This place does not have the problems we do. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, what flies? It's crazy. I've never seen weather or conditions like that. It's just, wow. I'm sure they're probably there from time to time, but where I was at this outdoor cafe, I'm going, you got to be kidding me. I get through a whole meal and I ain't having to fight a fly in the middle of summer. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's related just the way your weather pattern is, or maybe because we have bigger problems with humidity. I don't know. I just found it fascinating. Okay. All right. So. All right. So now we're gonna dive into the Bermuda Triangle. I don't get to have drunk here. But anyway. Anyway, yeah, Mr. hardly ever drinks, and then he just takes a shot of moonshine. There you go. That's funny. But anyway, so the triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle.
The Triangle.
Yeah.
But remember there was other names?
Yeah, there was other names. What was
the Devil's Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, the Sea of Doom,
yeah,
and the Graveyard of the Atlantic.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely the graveyard. There's no doubt about that. With the amount of ships and planes and things that have went down there, yeah. And to think that we're still having some issues to this day just proves to me that there is an issue there. Okay, so it has fascinated people for decades, of course, due to the numerous mysterious disappearance of ships and aircraft in that region. The Bermuda Triangle lies in the western part of the northern Atlantic Ocean and is shaped like a triangle. Obviously, that's how one of the people had coined that phrase, the Bermuda Triangle, connecting Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Over the year, various theories and speculations have emerged explaining the phenomena occurring within the area. However, none of them have ever been spot on. Even the most scientific reasons have never been spot on, and they have even been able to disprove that, going, well, then how do you explain this? And so these theories are all over the place for a lot of different reasons. So every time I think, from what I've looked at, every time that someone thought that they had the definitive proof of what was causing problems in the triangle, something else happened and they started going to something else. I think that's frustrating maybe for some scientists who have that scientific mind, but I think more of the people who are maybe that listen to the shows of paranormal stuff, I think they are more the open-minded to try to get to that definitive answer without just the scientific proof. So it's kind of, and there's some that actually are on both sides of that, of course. And there are some theories that are attributed to disappearances, to supernatural forces, even such as, and even as UFOs, or even a gateway to another dimension. All this has been mentioned. Others suggest a lot of scientific explanations, like magnetic anomalies or methane gas eruptions from the seafloor.
Yeah, but there's something called electronic fog.
Yeah, the electronic fog. Yes.
Have you heard of that?
Yes, that's.
So it's when extra solar energy wind combines with thunderstorm activity, it can create some kind of electronic fog, and that's when the instruments go crazy and all that kind of stuff. And there was a group of people that went to actually go measure inside a cloud or a storm there. And actually it was a guy, what was the guy,
oh, crap.
where he said he went to a time warp?
I believe that was...
85?
I believe that was somewhere in the 80s. I believe you are correct that is 85. I had that. You know what? I had that from yesterday.
Yeah.
And I believe it is 85. But he, if we're wrong on that,
So
well,
they went in and measured.
right? Yeah,
They measured with a frequency meter.
Mm-hmm, yep. Mm-hmm.
And that read to be 652 megahertz.
Mm-hmm.
And normal is only 6 to 10.
Right.
And the magnetic meter that they did was 1,000 volts per meter.
That's a lot.
And the normal is 0. So it reinforced to him that it's very possible that he was in some kind of electronic fog. And, you know, even, didn't Lindbergh say that he went, and his gear went crazy too?
Oh, yeah. Charles Lindbergh, his gear and everything in the triangle area went
1928.
Yeah, went completely off the scale. It was all messed up.
But here's an interesting thing. It's not only their compass that is like magnetic compass, but their regular compass also goes haywire.
Right. It's
it's not only just the magnetic compass. You would think,
right.
It might be just a magnetic compass.
Yeah. Isn't it? I see. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Danielle. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the triangle area is the only place on the planet that the compasses do both magnetic north and pure north at the same time. If I'm not mistaken, that's what happens with the compasses, right? Something like that.
I think.
Am I right?
The Bermuda Triangle. What's going on? I think it's The only true north. I think it's true
okay,
north.
right. The only true that's maybe it. I was trying to remember how that lays out. I was trying to think of that. I've seen a lot of stuff on the Bermuda Triangle. I've watched a lot of stuff on the Bermuda Triangle, and I was trying to remember how that statement is made about the compasses. And I do.
Yeah.
I do know that.
I'm pretty sure, but I do know that the magnetic poles on the Earth are changing.
Oh yeah.
And it's moving 35 miles per year.
Mm-hmm.
Magnetic north is moving.
Yes.
And it could be causing something in the Bermuda Triangle to be all weird and have it also move too. You know.
And speaking of the person about flying through the electronic fog, I do know several pilots that fly smaller planes, and they do not like that area at all. They will fly those areas sometimes, but even some of the charter planes out of Bermuda and stuff that they really there's a lot of stories about the small plane pilots really hating that area. So for people to dismiss it, I'm going to take the word of pilots. When pilots don't like flying in something, there's a lot to that. Most pilots love to fly no matter what, no matter where they're going. But if you get a lot of stories from pilots saying, "Hey, I don't really like flying in that area. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens in that area." Well, to me, that just says a whole lot of stuff is going on.
Yeah, in the last 35 years, there's been 700 boats and 120 planes that have disappeared. And in the last 100 years, more than at least 1,000 people have died.
Right. And here's another thing, Danielle. What gets me is we have got such sophisticated navigation and GPS systems and things now, and yet we're still having problems in this area. That also tells you a lot. If we have advanced so much on our navigation and our GPSs and it turns everything upside down in that area still, there's got to be something going on that has to be explained more than just like, oh, this is just totally natural phenomena. I don't know about that, guys. To me, there's a whole lot going on there, and I mean, I love our country. I mean, you're allowed to either be skeptic or you're allowed to have a very open mind. Me and Danielle kind of have open minds, so we kind of think, well, anything is possible. You're free to be a skeptic too. I mean, but most of the people I think that listen to this show are people who are pretty open-minded and try to dive into a more open mind with this. But yeah, there's a
right. But you know what? The Coast Guard, they say it's no more dangerous. I do have to put this in there. They're saying it's no more dangerous than any other place to go to. So,
that's true. That's what she's absolutely right. The Coast Guard is trying to say that. They absolutely are saying that. I'm not trying to, and I'm not trying to downplay anything the Coast Guard says. I like the Coast Guard, I should because I have all that survival stuff from the Coast Guard, right? But anyway, that's another story for another time. But anyway, but the thing is, I think also, and not to dispel anything that the Coast Guard is saying, but at the same time, the Coast Guard is a government agency, and they do have to say certain things because I mean, it could cause a scare for no reason, for something, and it could cause some people to say, oh well, let's go around this, let's go around this, let's go around that. I get that, but I mean, if they should show those charts, I mean, maybe it is no more dangerous than another place. But what gets me is like this recent thing with the Norwegian cruise line that's on that news article. Obviously, there is some strange stuff going on there that doesn't make any sense. And yes, there are shipwrecks and things other places in the world that may be equal, but do they have the weirdness connected to them? See, that's the part they didn't.
Yeah, because there's other triangles. They say there's one by Alaska.
Right.
There's one over kind of by, what is it, Japan?
Yeah, there is one. I think there is.
Yeah, really... there's more than one. This one's like the most famous. I think. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's probably the most
famous one.
Right.
But there are other ones that So I always think it might have just the magnetic field of the Earth.
Oh yeah, I have. Oh well, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about electromagnetic.
And then the magnetic field of the Earth, I hear that it's thinning that protects the Earth.
Yeah.
And so more solar is coming in.
Right, and we have some other issues going on with the planet too that doesn't make any sense right now. Which that we can release that maybe on another show, but maybe there's some connection to that as well. So the moon controls tides, things like that. And apparently, in recent history, somehow they've discovered it's slowly moving away from us, which is weird. But so who's to say what's controlling what and how this all plays out? Magnetic fields, I mean, there's just so many things that could be explained in it. However, and I'll bring up this, and this is from there's a scene in one of Danielle's favorite movies about this case, and I believe she knows where I'm going with this one. Flight 19, the U.S. Navy bombers, the torpedo bombers, the 1945. And also there's two very big cases on the Bermuda Triangle that are very interesting. The Flight 19 in 1945 and the USS Cyclops in 1918. Point, by the way, both these are Navy, which is also interesting that they're both a Navy ship and Navy planes. Very interesting on that. But these five, it was 5 pilots, right? Wasn't it 5 pilots? Am I right on that? Yeah.
There's 5 airplanes.
Yeah, 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers vanished while on a training mission, and then of course the Cyclops. Let's not forget that. This just totally vanished without a trace, with 309 crew members on board. I mean, two total.
That was possibly something called a rogue wave.
Yeah, and
what a rogue wave is like, it could be like a bunch of small waves together that form like big massive waves. It just pops out of nowhere, and it could this killer wave could be like, it pops out of nowhere. It could go up to 100 feet high and just snap a ship or something, because it can put on 20 pounds per square inch that hits you.
Ooh.
And
ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just painful.
That have survived. I think there was one ship or one oil tanker or something that survived this rogue wave, and those are real. I think those are real.
Right. Absolutely.
It just, something just comes up and just like hits you all of a sudden.
And there's something else about
that could be.
Yeah, and there's something else about this area that's fascinating to me, and it is true. This is a true fact. It is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. It is. I mean, it is a very busy shipping lane, commercial, private, all that, and maybe even some illegal stuff, as we well know, as the Coast Guard would know. But it's extremely busy in that area. And there are a lot of, and also in that area of the Atlantic, we also know there are a lot of storms, including hurricanes that come through that area. And it's a very, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't know. You may be able to correct me on this or not, Danielle. I'm asking you to actually correct me if I'm wrong, or somebody else to let us know. I think I'm right on this, but if I'm not mistaken, isn't that area of the Atlantic one of the deepest oceans in the world?
I don't know.
I was thinking.
They said the Gulf Stream runs under there.
Right. So
which is a current.
Yeah. I know this. I know it's. Oh, ouch! I hit myself in the head with a clipboard. You gotta love that one.
What you're basically saying, right, is that there's more people, so there's more of a chance in that area that does a lot of stuff. There's more chance that something's going to happen, which is going to be, instead of like some remote part of the world where there's not many ships.
Right. That's what I was getting at.
So there's more of a chance that something can happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm believing, because if it's one of the busiest or the busiest, I believe it's actually the busiest shipping lanes in the world. if that is correct, that means that there's more going on there. There's more activity, and anywhere. Okay, so anything that can go wrong, the more activity you have. Well, let's put this as a comparison. Okay, so let's put this in comparison. So you have a lot of people involved in a certain area of doing something. Okay, so you have more chances of something going wrong when, say, a storm comes up. Which could be related to some of the disappearances of the triangle. Could just be, But here's the only problem with that. A lot of these disappearances indicated nothing but clear weather prior to the disappearances. They had clear weather, no problems, no storms, and several of those have been recorded that they had, and then all of a sudden, just boom, they're gone.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when I think there's a lot without a trace.
Yeah.
No bodies.
Yeah.
No wreckage. Nothing. It's like,
right.
My goodness.
Right. So yeah, and let's dive back into the first show I did on the Bermuda Triangle with the relation to my dad. Since we brought my dad up earlier, I wouldn't be here today, according to a story that he told me, and of course I mentioned on the previous episode that I don't think I don't know a lot on this, but I don't think it's classified. It might be a little, but no one's come to me from the first show, so I don't think we got an issue here. My dad and a full bird colonel had an issue with each other. They just kind of more of the colonel just didn't really like my dad. It wasn't like one of those things where I just don't like you and I'm not going to I'm going to like make your life a complete living hell. Not like that. But they just had a couple of incidents of each other, and nothing that got my dad in serious trouble. But the colonel was able to do whatever the hell he wants to do because he had the rank. So these captains came in and wanted him, which you've heard the story from the first story, and wanted my dad to fill his vacancy on his re-enlistment. And so the colonel kind of just done stupid stuff and everything, but he ended up saving my dad's life. He wouldn't let my dad do this time. He said, no, he could. I'm just going to delay him and all this. Well, he delayed him, and if he'd have been on the two planes that went down in the Devil's Triangle, and all they ever found was a piece of the cushion. That's all they ever found, and they loaded them by alphabetical order. As I said in the first show, I wouldn't be here talking to you now. So it actually worked out. So I have a connection to the Bermuda Triangle, and my dad had told me that story my entire life, as I'd mentioned on the first show.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that goes to about not finding stuff. They did find this one little piece of a cushion thing that they believe that was part of the plane. These are two transport planes that went down, and I'm not sure. I looked for a lot of information on that. It's kind of vague. I found something somewhat, but my dad has no reason to tell. My dad was not into the paranormal or the Bermuda Triangle or stuff like that, other than what he had heard later. So this story was not something to be made up. So I know it's a true story. And as I don't know, anybody that's been around military families or military people in the military don't just tell things just to be telling them. Okay, that really, that's why it's very hard for someone who's been to war or stuff like that to get stuff out of them. It's not always easy because they don't just want to tell something. And I don't think he would have told the story of my entire life, about this whole deal about what happened with him and the colonel and the planes going down if it wasn't true. So Air Force did not approach me on the first show. Has not approached me at all. I mentioned on the show if it was classified, I guess they can approach me. That maybe I'm not supposed to be talking about it. But you know what? I talked about it the first time. I'm talking about it again. I don't think it's a problem. If they did come to me, I'd be like, well, listen, this is what my dad told me. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think I almost would like the Air Force to contact me because I'd be like, oh, so it is true. Yeah, but you shouldn't be talking about it. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. Most people freak out if the government comes to me. I'd be like, oh, so you showed up because it is real? Well, that's nice to know. I'm just like that. I'm just like that. I'd be like, oh, great. So it is real.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just weird like that. I don't know. And going back to the fictionalized movies like we watch, yeah, the government does like to try to keep some things under the radar. I think in that film it was a little bit over dramatized. I mean, I don't think they. I mean, maybe some branch. I mean, there's this branch, that branch, and everybody doesn't always talk to each other. But I don't think it's quite as like. I mean, it's a good movie. Don't we ask you to watch the movie. It's a good movie, but I don't think it's quite as over dramatic in real life as they make it out to be. At least I haven't personally experienced that. Maybe some people have, but who knows? Again, we're open.
They're not even coming out and saying there's anything in the Bermuda Triangle anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
They just deny it. They're kind of brushing off, keep quiet.
Yeah.
The Coast Guard
exactly. It's not that hard. It's not that hard for them to deny it, like you said, with the Coast Guard saying this about any other shipping. I mean, but the difference is between them and between us is that we have the open mind of trying to get to the bottom of something, and it's not trying to make any one person's or our agency or something look bad. I don't think that's what we're trying to do. I don't feel like that's what I'm trying to do. I never have. I just like to dive into this and say, hey, what is going on in the Bermuda Triangle? I mean, that's basically what I said on the first show. What is going on out there? There's so many things and so many weird phenomena that have come up. I'm like, this can't all just be faked. And furthermore, the further you go back, let's go back to Columbus. Columbus obviously had I mean, he was basing on what he was seeing and describing what he was seeing. At that time,
it was at 10 p.m. October 11th, 1492.
Exactly.
Him and his crew, at least a couple people, were standing out there, and that's when they saw like lights, and then this light came out of the water, and it went away. It just like whoo, and went away. So. And do you know what? Can you imagine trying to explain that in 1492?
Oh, come on! In 1492,
what you would say?
I mean, the word
he wrote it down.
I mean, it was a good description. It was a good description for the time era. But I mean, if you look at it like what in the world could you possibly? No one in 1492 had heard the word flying saucer. That's for damn sure. I'm like.
No, so he described it as lights.
Exactly.
What else can you say?
Exactly. And which some people have tried to say different things about that. But with the description, if you really dive deep into the description for what he described at that time to what we know today, that is so. I mean, it's coming up out of the water. I mean, I read one thing. I don't know if you've read this or not either, Danielle. But I read one thing where someone was trying to dispel that, saying that during this time of year, between the September to October, shooting stars. And well, wait a minute. Last time I checked, meteorites do not come up out of the water. Maybe if it was coming out of the sky, I could get that. Okay, I'll go along with that. But if it's coming up out of the water, that makes no sense whatsoever. None. So, my open mind says that there was something more there. And then let's go back to this, which we were talking about earlier, is the time warp thing and wormholes and all that.
Do you think it's an alien base there?
There's possibility of an alien base, and I will bring that up without naming the name of the person who told me that. This person, I will say, I do know personally.
Oh, I know.
You know who?
Weren't you supposed to go fly? Weren't you supposed to go down there?
Yeah, actually.
You were supposed to go down and yeah, She said that there was an alien base there and underwater, and that she invited you to go down there with her, but you decided not. You said no.
I did say no. Danielle is aware of this story. I have told Danielle this story. At the time, I was very skeptical, even though this person is a friend of mine, and I don't want to give away too much. I will say this: she has written. She wrote a book. And interviewed a lot of Air Force people about UFOs, stuff like that. So she is known for that, and they give her a lot of information. So it is, I should say, ex-Air Force people. Excuse me. It was not anybody current in the Air Force because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. These were retired Air Force people that were telling her information. But she invited me. Yeah, you're right. She 100% invited me to go to what she said was an alien base in that area underneath the water. And I will admit, I told Danielle, I was very skeptical at the time. And that goes back to the whole being skeptic on the paranormal stuff with my ex-girlfriend Crystal in one of the previous episodes about that. And I've learned to be a little bit open-minded now. It just takes time to figure that out.
It's about 15 years ago, wasn't it?
That was
it was a while ago.
Oh God, that was about 15.
And times were different. I think things are, now things are like becoming more and more talked about.
Right.
It's more accepted and stuff. But back then, you were like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't think I'm gonna go.
I was scared to death too, to be honest with you, and I'm usually not that scared of anything. Because I was thinking to myself, okay, where she's telling me that this base was at and everything, and we're going to go down underneath the Bermuda Triangle area. I got a very bad feeling right about that.
I would be like, huh?
I'm going like, all I could think in my mind, and the reason Danielle knows this story, me and Danielle have been friends a long time. Danielle was one of the few people I actually talked to about this story outside of the business partner I had at the time who also knew this person, and in fact was actually sitting with me when all this was going on, and was like, and one of the times she's like, we're both looking at each other like, what do we got ourselves into, kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, she's a very nice person, very wonderful. I would probably, there's a lot of things that she does I would have nothing to problem do. I was just flabbergasted when she hit me with this. And especially knowing that she had interviewed people from the Air Force that had been in and about UFOs and had written that book. And I was like, what the have I got myself into here? I mean,
strategically, it would be a good place to have an alien base underwater.
Oh, it would strategically be a good place, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
wouldn't that be?
Definitely.
See, notice
definitely,
I'm not.
But you know what? But there, out of all this time, there was only one time in 1980 that there was a plane and a Mayday call came in, and he's like, Mayday, Mayday, and he said that there was an object that was right next to his plane and following him and stuff, and he was all scared and stuff. And they never heard from that pilot again, but that was the only thing that was like alien. Other than that, I don't think the aliens are messing with anybody out there.
Right.
I really don't.
Well, I can tell you this.
That's just my personal opinion.
Right. Well, from a pilot standpoint, and I'm not a full licensed pilot, but I've done some adventure piloting with licensed pilots and small planes and stuff, but they're all inland. We have, I've never done one over water anywhere as of yet. So I've got a few hours in with pilots and stuff. So a lot of people don't know this. FAA regulations, that's the only way you can train people anyway. You can do what's called discovery flights, adventure flights, stuff like that with pilots. You can do an hour, 2 hour, up in the air, and that actually counts for time if you want to get your pilot's license. But I've done a couple of those, and let me tell you something. Small plane, and if an alien vessel was to come, I'm telling you what, I don't care how trained the pilots I've been with or myself, it would freak you out. It would totally, especially considering the size of what some of the craft have been described, or some of the alien crafts have been described, up against, say, a Cessna or a Piper, some of the planes I've been in, I would be like, we are in, my first thing would be like, we are in some serious trouble here. This is not good. This is not good, because this thing can take.
It's not.
No, because it could take out a Cessna and a Piper with no problem. I mean, shoot.
They could probably mess with the. It could probably mess with the compass and
the instrument, all everything.
Because they've been known to like shut down cars or mess with stuff.
Exactly.
So if it's coming along and it's following and it's really close to him.
Yeah.
How do we know it didn't just shut off his plane or something? We don't know what this caused him to be. He got scared and called in Mayday, so it was.
I would have been scared. I'd have been scared to death. I'd have been scared to death. I'd have looked whichever way it was, to my left or my right, and I'd be like, that kind of looks like what we shouldn't have up here with us.
I'd be saying some prayers and just saying, please go away.
Right. I'll be like, oh yes.
I don't know, like sometimes if they know that it causes, why can't they just stay away from our airplanes and stuff? Why
Right.
They know that it can cause
That's a good
harm
question. Yeah, that's
to humans. Why can't they just stay out of our skies?
that's a good question. Or now,
I know, right?
well, here's another thing.
Or are they popping in and out of some space-time warp?
Space-time continuum.
Wormhole, weird thing. You know, it's like,
Oh my God.
they're driving along and all of a sudden, pop! Oh, they're in our world. Oh, right? Because all of a sudden they just show up and then they're driving along. Pop! They're out of our world. I don't know.
Exactly, I don't know either.
Stuff.
Well, here's another thing. Okay, so maybe they don't know it's messing with her stuff. Have you ever wondered about that? I always wondered, like, well, maybe.
Yes, I did wonder, but if they're supposed to be this really, really like
Intelligent,
so advanced far more than us, you would think they would know something.
Well, there's also one other theory about UFOs and stuff. I don't know if have you ever looked at this one about the UFOs? There is another theory that the time thing is because they are coming from our future, that they're not from alien. Have you heard that one?
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
But now that goes to, well, if you're from our future, wouldn't you know you've been messing our stuff?
Right.
Like, wouldn't you know that? Come on, guy. I'm sorry. I mean, if I had the ability to time travel, I'd be like, okay, we got to be very careful here because this stuff could really. I mean, that's just me. I don't know.
Unless they share the planet with us somehow.
Well,
That's the only reason
well,
I
that's
think
a possibility.
They'd be like popping in and there's bases underneath and stuff.
Yeah.
If they're sharing the planet, they're going to be sharing our airways,
True.
right?
Exactly.
Unless it's military craft.
Oh yeah.
There's so many things we can go into. It's for another show.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, do I think an alien base there is causing these planes and everything to go down? Absolutely not. I just don't think so.
Okay.
That's just an opinion in my.
Well, no, I like to have your opinion too, because I mean, it could go either way, but I agree with you that there's no, okay, unless I had went to the base. There's no way. And here's my thing. One of the things.
I wish you would have.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Could you imagine? Had I actually took her up on her offer and went to the so-called base? If I actually went with her, I'm going to say right now, the listeners and anyone's listening to this right now that knows me personally, that listens to the show, they're probably like, he's never talked about that before. That's something new. Because, I'm pretty good about talking about a lot of things and stuff, especially out here, and I'm well known for that. So that's one of the reasons I'm able to do the show fairly easy. Not super easy, because we have to do some research and stuff like that. But they're probably right now going, I cannot believe that he's talking about this and he never talked about this. Well, I never talked about it because, I was so flabbergasted, as I said, by her. But let's just say hypothetically, I had went to the base that she's mentioning. If that base, and again, I am not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it does. The listeners are in for their own interpretation. I'm not 100% sure one way or the other. But if the base existed and I went to that thing, I would have been freaked the hell out. I would have been like, well, look what we have here. We have aliens walking around on a base underneath the planet at the Bermuda Triangle. You gotta love that stuff. And I'll be like, nope, that's just not good. That's just not good at all, is it now?
Right.
I really do. By the way, the person I'm talking about, if she ever does come across the road, she'll probably be like, I'm gonna kick his ass. But anyway, but I don't know that she would. She's actually.
We didn't name her.
No, we didn't name her. She is a very very nice lady. She is.
Yes,
I do consider her a friend, and I didn't name her. And she's not trying to publicize anything on her books or anything anymore like that, so I don't think that's an issue either. But who knows, man? Who knows what would have been like if I had have taken her up on her offer? I guess I could have said it might have been fun if it'd been, if it all turned out like she was talking about. That would have been like, wow. But then the real question of that is, if that turns out to be the way it is, do I get to come back? I mean, wouldn't I know too much?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or what if she was?
Maybe.
Or I mean, what if I'm wrong about her? I mean, she is really nice, but what if she was an alien? I mean, you never know. I mean, I'm just saying.
Hybrid.
Or hybrid. Oh my goodness. I won't dive into some other stuff between me and her.
Okay. Enough of the alien kick.
Yeah.
This is Bermuda Triangle, but it's part of the.
It is part of it.
The wonder of maybe the UFOs and the alien base have something to do with
right.
The magnetic. I can't ever say anything 100% one way or another, but my gut feeling is probably not.
Right.
It's probably some kind of natural occurrence within the air, like the solar and the storm combined together. Rogue waves. Rogue waves are, that can just go up, all of a sudden pop up. Stuff like that. Now, they said that maybe methane gas can cause some of this, or the magma underneath there, that has, magnetic properties that could maybe be doing it. It could be a combination of a bunch of stuff in the area.
Divers also say you have to pick very carefully about diving in that area. Especially closer to the Bermuda Islands and stuff. I think I told you this, didn't it? And I think I mentioned it on the previous show, how the volcanic underneath of Bermuda kind of looks like a triangle itself coming up out of which is weirdly weird too. Which that's the only connection of a triangle to a triangle in any of these different places around the world. That's the only one that has been coined the Bermuda Triangle, and then has an interesting volcanic underneath that kind of looks like a triangle. It's not a pure triangle, but it looks so much like one that you could go, well, that's very fascinating. I found it fascinating. You'll have to, or some people might have to Google and look it up. Look up underneath the. What Bermuda looks like.
And since it's such a hub, I just think there's also just a whole lot of more people.
Right.
It gives you a whole lot of more chance that something's going to happen. Right. The statistic wise.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, like I said, busy.
About that.
Busy.
How's that?
Well, I think you're right about that. Busy shipping, like I mentioned. But I mean, there's a lot of fascinating theories, and I mean, they have captured the public's attention.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's and it seems to keep going. The interest in it and everything.
The Bermuda Triangle has not lost its interest whatsoever. That is 100%.
The many books and shows and that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think every day, you still to this day, you're still having stuff come up about the Bermuda Triangle, which proves to a point that regardless of what's being said of trying to, downplay that there's just as many shipwrecks and stuff like the Coast Guard said, the Bermuda Triangle remains the most fascinating one in the entire world. It is and maybe part of that is the fictionalized stuff of it as well, adding to the fuel to the fire. Who knows? But I just think there's a lot of people, and there are actually some really interesting researchers out there that are doing research on the Bermuda Triangle still to this day. And if there wasn't something to that, I don't think that they would be out there trying to do that research. I think if they really thought that there wasn't something to it, I don't think they would spend the money or the time to stay on top of that. So the fascination remains in the public, remains with some of the people that do studies on the Bermuda Triangle, the research. So it's still going on out there, guys. It's still going on. So if you find the Bermuda Triangle as fascinating as I do, and Danielle does, and I let us know if you what, even better for you.
Have any stories?
Absolutely.
Of alien bases.
Alien bases. That'd be good. That would be a good one. Or anything about the triangle in general. So this show is like, if you want to talk to us and tell us about the show, how you like the show, and if you have any kind of connection to Bermuda Triangle, I don't care how small it is, let us know. We would love to hear from you at the 13th Destiny Podcast at gmail.com. Be sure to check us out there. We are on several places now. We have added, and We'll get a Patreon here pretty soon. I got the word right out without screwing it up. I can't believe it. I got it right. I was going to tell you that I had so much trouble saying that sometimes that I didn't really want to say it. But I got it out right on the first try that time. So we are going to try to get that and some other things, and where you'll be able to do some donations and stuff and help the show out. But, yeah, we definitely want to hear from you first. And we definitely want to try to...
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we definitely want
to... Like and subscribe, too.
Right. And we definitely
that helps us out a lot.
Yep. And expand the fan base. We're trying to expand the fan base. So if you find this show fascinating and you've come across it, let other people know as well. This is the 13th Destiny Podcast. That is the name of the show. I think it's 13th Destiny Podcast with Magnum is some of the things is how it's but pretty much anything 13th Destiny Podcast is pretty much how you can find it. And Danielle, thank you for being here today. It's been a great show today.
All right. It's been my pleasure, and goodbye, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Right, and I'll do a quick little shout out and close out here. Thank you, as I said again, Darren. Goodbye, and we'll be back on next week. And I'm not sure what the subject's going to be yet, but we'll find a good one. Thank you again for being here with the 13th Destiny Podcast, and God bless all of you, and have a great day, great week, and we'll be back next week.